Hi again, everybody. It is Victor from Mark Lawrence's Playbook, and we're doing some prep work for the podcast that we're going to be recording a little later on Wednesday afternoon. I'm doing some prep for that particular podcast, and of course, as always, right around this time, we do a little bit of an NFL over under review, and we'll also take a look at some of the action in this week, week 9 of the NFL. Let's get into what happened last week in pro football. Now, we haven't had a 50-50 week in pro football this season until last week. A 50-50 week, of course, being overs and unders split right down the middle. We had a full 16 game slate last week. Half of the games went over, half of them went under. Sure, there was still some high scoring 60 plus point games, 65 points in that Saints Colts game, which was our King Creole over of the week. And we thank everybody who joined us for that particular winner. 69 points in the Philadelphia Washington NFC East Division battle, 63 points in the Rams Cowboys game, and a surprising 55 points in the Baltimore Arizona game. Those were your four highest scoring games. And of course, there was still plenty of those ugly, low scoring games that we've seen with great regularity this season, in which there was combined 34 or less points. Again, the official tally for last week in the NFL: 8 overs, 8 unders. The average OU line last week was 42.8. Average combined points, 44.7. That's your middle of the road right now in the NFL. Okay, year to date now, after 8 complete weeks, we have seen 49 overs. We have seen 72 unders in the NFL. That's 59% of all games, which have indeed gone under the total on the season, with a low average of 43.6 combined points per game. That is where we are at in the NFL. And here's a little trivia question for you. Did you know since the start of last season, there has been only 3 out of 26 weeks in the NFL in which there were more overs than unders in a given week? Only 3 out of 26 weeks. In fact, I'll let you know what those weeks were. Week 11 of last year, week 14 of last year, and of course, the only week this season in which there were more overs and unders was week 2 of this season. The primetime games, all three of them last week, once again ended up going under the total. Tampa Bay versus Buffalo on Thursday, uh, the Bears and the Chargers on Sunday night, and the Vegas Detroit game on Monday night. All three of them went under the total. The primetime NFL night games holding strong this year now with 7 overs, 19 unders. Here's your breakdown, though. The Thursday games have actually gone 4 and 4 over under. The Sunday night games have gone 2 and 6 over under, only 41.3 combined points per game. And it's those Monday games. There's been 10 of them this season already, only 1 over, 9 unders on Monday Night Football this season. Only 36.6 combined points per game. The Jets are playing the Chargers this Monday. We don't want any part of the over in that game. So if you're going to bet it, lay off the total or play on the under. Now, with that said, there's American football that's going to be played in Germany this week. And I believe that we'll probably be covering that on the Mark Lawrence podcast this week. So we can kind of pass by that. But if you're looking for a good under situation this week in week 9, here's a couple of games that we would advise. There was a lot of NFL non conference games last week in the NFL. Those are the AFC versus NFC games. In fact, 10 out of 16 games last week were the non con variety. This week, there's 7 more of these games, and a 4-year pattern in the database tells us to go low in these games when the AFC team is laying points at home. In fact, here you go, right out of our hot database. 8 overs, 27 unders in the last 4 years. That's 77% under the total for any AFC home favorite of 6 or less points taking on an NFC opponent. For a little bit of a tightener, we know that the results improve in these games to 3 and 20 over under. That's only 3 overs, 20 unders when the OU line is in the range of more than 38 and less than 48 points. There are 3 games going this week in the NFL that qualify in this fantastic 3 and 20 over under situation. These are the games that you want to consider going low in. Houston Texans, favored by a few points at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will go under the 40. The Patriots at home hosting the Commanders, over underline around 40 and a half. We'll go with the under in this one as well. And finally, the third game that also qualifies, Baltimore Ravens hosting the Seattle Seahawks, over under 43. We're going to lean under in all 3 of these games. You don't have to play the under in all 3 of them. All I'm saying is lay off the over in these non-conference games. Take a look at Houston, Tampa Bay under, New England, Washington under, and finally Baltimore, Seattle under for week 9. That'll do it for your week 8 review, your week 9 preview. Let's get back to the Mark Lawrence Against the Spread podcast. Best of luck as always. And don't forget this week's Totals Tip Sheet newsletter available at playbooksports.com. Best of luck to everybody in week 9.